Hello and welcome. In this video, we will learn about margin and padding. Okay, and we'll also learn something called as the box model in CSS. All right. Now, for you to teach about margin and padding, I have this figure here. Now, this is a house. This is a house which has a fence here. Okay, so fence, we call it as compound. Okay, compound, we also call it as a fence. Okay, fence. Now this is a home, this is fence. The gap between the home and the fence, okay, you can see there is this much gap between the home and the fence, that is to the front. There is this much gap from the house to the fence, that is on the left side. There is this much gap from the house or home to the fence, that is at the back side, and there is this much gap from the house to the fence, and this is to the right side. Correct? Now this gap is called as padding. Okay, this gap is called as padding in CSS. Okay, in CSS, not in real life. All right, not between house and compound, but this gap is called as padding in CSS. All right. Next, this is the fence. All right. There may be a tree here. There may be a tree here, or there may be a road here, or there may be a fence of another house. And the gap between the fence and the next element, whatever it may be a tree, it may be a house, it may be a fence of a house, it may be a road, whatever it may be. The gap between this fence and the next element is called as margin. Okay, margin. So inside gap is called as padding, outside gap, okay, to the right, in front, to the left and back is called as margin. All right. Now this is the concept of the box model. Now let me go to the sketch here. All right. So this is content. This is content. Now content can be paragraph, it can be a image, or it can be a video, or it can be any element. All right. Content, which is equal to the house, which is equal to the house. All right. Content. This is the house. And this is the border. The green color what you see on your screen is border, which is equal to the fence. Okay, which is equal to fence. And you know you can mention border width, correct? In CSS we have learnt about it. So this width can be changed. This width can be changed or altered. All right. Now the gap between the content and the border, the gap between the content and the border, the gap between the content and the border is called as padding. Padding. Okay, the gap between the content and the border is called as padding. And here this is bottom gap or bottom padding. To the left is left padding, to the right is right padding, and to the top is top padding. Okay. Next, after border we have some more gap, and that is margin. The gap between, or you can say the space between the fence and the next element, whatever it may be. Okay, the gap between the fence and the next element in all sides is called as margin. Same way here, the gap between the border of a content of an element and the next element is called as margin. Okay, is called as margin. Now let me demonstrate you this concept by working on an example. All right. So let me minimize this and go to my website. I'll open this. Okay, I'll open this. So I have 4 buttons here. I've already styled 3 and I had asked you to style 4th button. So I'll style this and explain you the concept of padding and margin. Okay. So I'll open style sheet in Notepad and scroll to the bottom. Alright, and here I'll open this in Notepad and go to the bottom and say class equal to button 4. Okay, button 4, and I'll save it, minimize this, come back to the style sheet, and here I'll say button 4. Okay, now this is class selector, and I will say background color white, and color of the text blue. Alright, blue. So let me close it, let me save it, let me refresh it to get this. Okay, so let me zoom it, so let me zoom this. Okay, let me zoom this. Yeah, I have white turmeric here. Alright, now let me color the border color, or let me say 2 pixels. Alright, 2 pixels solid and red. Alright, so let me save it, let me refresh it. Yeah, okay, so now let me give padding. Okay, let me give padding. See, this is my content here, and this is the border here, and the gap between the content and the border is called as padding. Alright, so let me write a rule and show you the difference. Alright, I'll say padding, okay, top, padding top, and I'll say 20 pixels. Alright, 20 pixels. I'll save it, and notice the gap here. Okay, top, notice the gap between the border and this when I refresh it. Alright, so you can see we have this much gap from the border. Now this is content, so let me go to this. This is content, and we have border here, we have border here, and this gap is what I mentioned. Okay, this gap or this space, whatever you want to call it, that space is 20 pixels, and that is what I mentioned here, and that is what is being reflected here. Okay, reflected. Alright, so let me go here and let me say left. Okay, left. So I'm replacing top with left. I'll save it and I'll refresh it, and you can see this gap increases by 20 pixels. Alright, so now what I mentioned is this gap. Okay, this gap, or if you are considering this, I have mentioned this gap as 20 pixels. Okay, so this is content here, which is my button, and this is the border here. The left gap to the left side of the button is 20 pixels. Alright, so similarly I'll say border right and save it and refresh it, so you can see on the right I have 20 pixels. Okay, and in the same way I'll say bottom, and I'll save it and refresh it to get the 20 pixels below the content. Okay, so now I'll just say padding, and 10 pixels. Okay, padding and 10 pixels, and you can see from all four sides, 10 pixels will be left, or 10 pixel gap will be there. So to the left 10 pixels, to the right 10 pixels, below 10 pixels, and above or top 10 pixels. Okay, so when you just mention padding without anything else, it leaves space in all four sides. Okay, I hope you have understood the concept of padding. Next, let me proceed to margin. Okay, margin. I'll say margin, and I'll say top. Alright, margin and top. So I'll say 100. Okay, 100 pixels to show you the difference. I'll save this, and you can see the the element which is the next element in this side. What side? Top side, top of this content. Okay, top of this content, top of this border, we have the first element which is this link. Now you see how much space will be increased when I hit the refresh button. Alright, so let me press refresh and you can see the gap has increased to this much. Okay, the gap has increased to this much. Now this is margin. Margin is the gap after the border. Okay, the gap between the border and the next element, whatever it may be. It may be a para, it may be an image, or it may be a video, or it may be anything. So the gap between the border and the next element is called as margin. Okay, so which is visible here. So after border, whatever element there may be, the gap is called as margin. Alright, so outside the border, margin; inside the border, padding. So let me go here, let me go to this, and let me say bottom. Okay, I'm replacing it. Okay, bottom. So now you can see bottom we have an H2 element, correct? H2 element. So see this gap here, see this gap when I hit the refresh button. So I'll save it and I'll hit refresh button, and you can see this much gap, or how much? It is 100 pixels gap is obtained between the border and the next element. Okay, next element. Alright, I hope you have understood the concept of padding and margin. Alright, now this here is called as box model. Okay, box model. Now border, this thickness, I have mentioned it to be 2 pixels, right? I have mentioned it to be 2 pixels here. So that is this thickness. Okay, this thickness all around. Alright, next let me delete this and let me say padding. Okay, and not bottom. Alright, so padding and 100 pixels. Let me save it and let me refresh it to get a button like this. Okay, very big button. So now here you can mention it in 4 ways. Okay, 4 ways. So let me show it. So I'll say 10 px. Okay, 10 px and 5 px and 20 px. Okay, px and let me say 12 px. Okay, px. So you can give 4 values like this. You can give 4 values like this. If you give 4 values like this, then the first value will be for top padding. Okay, top padding. Second one will be for right padding. Third one will be for bottom padding, and fourth value will be for left padding. Okay, top, right, bottom and left. So let me save this and let me refresh it. So you can see, let me go to this. Alright, so 10 pixels. So 10 will be top, 5 pixels, 5 will be right, 20 pixels, 20 will be bottom, and 12 pixels will be left, So if you mention 4 values, then it is top, right, bottom and left. Okay. Next, if you mention only 3 values, then first value will be for top, this. Last value will be for bottom, and the middle value will be for left and right. So both left padding and right padding will be 5 pixels. Okay, so let me save this and let me refresh it. Okay, let me refresh it. So you can see 10 pixel top, 20 pixel bottom, 5 pixels to the left and to the right. Okay, so if you mention 3 values, this is the meaning. If you mention 2 values, then first value will be for top and bottom. Second value will be for right and left. Okay, so let me save this and let me refresh it. Now let me go back here. So first value 10 pixels is for top and bottom, 5 pixels is for right and left, right and left. Okay, so this is the meaning of giving two values. Whereas if you mention one value, let me save it, then it is for top, bottom, left and right. All will be 5 pixels now. Okay, so let me refresh it and you can see all are 5 pixels. All are 5 pixels. Okay, now this same goes to margin also. Okay, margin also. If you mention one value, it is for all 4 sides. If you mention two values, it is for top and bottom, right and left. If you mention three values, this is for top, this is for bottom, and this is for left and right. Whereas if you mention four values, first is top, right, bottom, left. Okay, top, right, bottom, left. So we go in clockwise direction or whatever direction this is. Okay, so we go from this to this to this and back to this. Alright, so this is how you can mention padding and margin. Alright, so it is a good practice to use this because it gives a visual appeal to any element. Alright, so let me zoom out here. And you can see this button looks good here. Correct? This button looks good. Alright, so that's it for this video. I want you to go ahead and practice the things that we have learnt in this video. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and thank you for watching.